I titled Reflection Number 2 in my logbook, The Sauce, and dared to play with this metaphor for a little longer. Given my nationality, I thought you would excuse me for using it for a couple more episodes. Anyway, stay with me. I promise this will soon make sense. Sauces are an essential element in cuisines all over the world. They add flavor, moisture, and visual appeal to a dish, but they should not be eaten by themselves. That's because their liquid texture does not make for a satisfying meal. In the same way, you do not want to eat raw and unseasoned spaghetti. At this point, I think we can agree that spaghetti and sauce are mutually necessary. For the sake of this parallel, we could compare the parties involved in the Wadden discourse that I talked about in the previous episode to the hard, structural part of a dish, that is, the actual spaghetti. Similarly, and stepping out of the kitchen for a moment, these parties operate both in a hard and a soft space. By hard space, I mean a bounded administrative environment kept together by fixed hierarchies where the language tends to be formal, aseptic, and technical. It is the language of decision-making that often leaves no room for genuine dialogues and gut feelings. On the other hand, a soft space is an open, functional area where exploring, sensing, creativity, and feeling are encouraged. It is a space where doubts, questions, emotions, and innovation are welcome rather than frowned upon. Pretty much the opposite of a hard space. Nevertheless, these two spaces are mutually necessary because they represent two sides of the same coin. But how do you get the best of both worlds? How can hard space and soft space meet halfway effectively? In my opinion, this is where Program Towards a Rich Wadden Sea comes on stage. For about 12 years, PRW has been working like a current, dynamic and constantly on the move. Such a current made sure that new ways of thinking took root, spread, and eventually reached the upper floors, at least in part. It worked as a sort of amplifying system that not only made sure that the echo was heard by the hard spacers, but that also kept alive and up to date the discourse around new ways of coexisting with the Wadden Sea and mutually benefiting from each other. We have been looking at a movement of professionals who are not afraid to ask the not-so-asked questions, to dust off ideas that many do not dare to give visibility to, and to innovate. To give an example, let's take a look at the Watt Labs. A Watt Lab is literally and figuratively a laboratory in which to experiment, create, and innovate. This format has been used by PRW to bring a soft space approach into the world of managers and hard space decision-making, regardless of organizational frameworks and interests. Questions about feasibility, conditions, and roles are left aside for the moment, and all ideas are welcome in a Watt Lab. And this is what I mean when I say that PRW has been able to speak, on occasion, both the diplomatic language of the decision makers and the genuine language of individuals. They have encouraged hard spaces parties to rejuvenate and flex, and soft spaces parties to keep voicing their needs while working to make their interests match with those of someone else. From my point of view, they have created a hybrid space and contributed to better the underflow. An underflow requires continuous steering and ultimately gives meaning, flavor, and unity to the whole, like a sauce. Although the PRW team was not the only actor to be part of the underflow, they took it upon themselves to be the executive chefs.